Hello, good evening, and welcome to another edition 149, one short of our sesquicentennial edition of the CantinaMX podcast. Glad to have you guys with us, as always. My name is John Jagu. Very, very, very happy that you're with us live Thursday night. A little late on the YouTube, but we try to make it as close to 9:30 as possible Central Time, and we're only 15 minutes later. That's all right. I think that we'd get a B+ for that. But regardless, we are glad that you guys are on with us this evening. And of course, for those of you that are downloading this from either iTunes or Google Play, we certainly appreciate you taking the time to not only download this podcast, but to listen to it as well. So thank you for that. My name is John Jagu. It's Thursday night. Happy to have you guys aboard. Have as we always do here in this never-ending novela that is Mexican soccer. We have lots to talk about tonight. Lots to talk about in the world of soccer with what's been going on. But let's get right to it then. So, without further ado, I want to introduce our panel over in Kyle, Texas, which is southeast of Austin in the greater Austin metropolitan area. Albert Beto El Chiquis Campa joins us. Beto,
Hey.
Good evening to you, sir.
Good evening, dudes. What's going on?
Are you a conflicted gato right now, Beto, or is Pumas always take precedence for when at least when they're doing well?
No, I think I've sort of strayed from the stray cat that is Tigres due to probably some rustling on my part, trying to get credentials unsuccessfully, but I haven't really followed. I haven't had too much interest in Tigres, but this Pumas team and their start is pretty good. So a little bit fortunate the teams they're playing though. So
that is true. They did get a soft part of this, but you know what? You got to win those games too, and you would learn a lot about a Pumas team when they play the teams that are a little more vulnerable than others. So, definitely a good start for Pumas, as you pointed out. I'm glad to have them winning, but they did make news this week, which we will get into here momentarily. But we can't do that without first introducing the other member of a panel who's joined us right now. We'll have other folks join later. Joel Aceves joins us from an undisclosed location in Southern California. I'm going to assume, Joel, that you're in Pacific Palisades this week.
I'm in parts unknown.
Parts unknown. Well, glad to have you with us, Joel. Chivas. I only bring it up because I know that you have been known to follow the team occasionally. Por las buenas y las malas.
Yes.
And right now they're going through a mala racha, and not the best start to the season. They had a lot of off-season tumult, we'll call it, not just a lot of off-the-field issues, coaching changes, GMs stepping down, just your what I would call your typical Chivas season. I think at this point, and it has been for the past few years. Joel, is there anything you can say to Chivas fans to talk them off the ledge, or is it time to just go ahead and make the leap?
No. Everything's gonna be fine. It's just that you get that taste of winning, and it's hard to get it out. That whole five trophies, even though 4 of them were, I'll say 3 were like, but still, it looks good, and it's what you always want the team to be, winning every tournament they play in. No one's going to care that.
One of the problems with not problems, but I guess inconveniences of the digital age is that there's now occasionally public archives of things that people have said in the past.
Yes.
Some positions that they have taken, and I seem to recall a position that you took, I think around the time where Chicharito was being shipped off to Manchester United, where you're like, it's great that this is happening and all, and the other players, and maybe it was during when Kubo was like the next great thing. You said the only thing that matters to me about Chivas is this, and you posted a picture of an empty trophy case.
I did.
So now since that time, there have been 5 trophies put in that trophy case, all done by the same coach. And granted, this was 7 years after the fact. So for 7 years, that trophy case did nothing but collect dust bunnies.
It collected 2 subcampeonatos.
I don't even know what that is.
Second place runner-up.
First, last. The first place, last place team.
Oh no, it's still, come on.
No, I know. Anyway, I'm just, but it is definitely a rough start for Chivas.
Well, yeah, it is, and it, especially because they're piling on the results from the previous. So it's not just, they don't say it's just 2 defeats. They say it's 9 games without a win or something like that.
It has been a while. It has been a while. In fact, over the past couple of seasons, I think Chivas only has 2 or 3 wins at home. So it's not. But to Chivas's credit, or to kind of give them a little bit of a bump, a little bit of pity. They did have a couple, a much rougher start than other. They had to go to start in Tijuana. Tijuana is never an easy place to play. I can't imagine what it's like in the summer having to deal with that, with the heat emanating off the plastic. So I'm sure that wasn't particularly pleasant. So tough place to play there. And then against the hottest team in the universe in their second game, Cruz Azul. So it just is it bad luck, Joel? Is it bad luck, or is Chivas just that bad?
No, they're just going through the motions, John. That's just the ups and downs. But I just want to clarify something first. When I posted that empty cabinet,
yes.
See, my main thing was that it was a bad deal in that Chicharo wasn't going to get to play the Libertadores final. And in that week, it was that same week, he was playing an MLS All-Star match. It was his debut with Man United. So I was, it angered me, because it's like you have one of the greatest, it could be possibly one of the biggest moments for the club, and you couldn't hold on to the player. And I used as an example Hernan Crespo. River Plate sold him to Parma, but under the condition he had to play the Libertadores final, and they went on to beat Millonarios, the Colombian team.
Sure.
And he left like that. I said, why couldn't he have done that? Why couldn't you have pushed for that one extra game, for that one final match?
Was if you remember about Chicharito, and I see that Daniel Preciado has joined us. We'll get to him here in a second. Is that they signed him outside of the transfer window, for which apparently was perfectly okay when they announced Chicharito's transfer. So and even at that time, Pumas, or not, that is a Freudian slip right there. Good Lord.
Yes.
Excuse me.
Pumas, man. It's just itching to get there, John.
That's right. No, but Chivas at that time, they were. I mean, they had. I think when that happened, they were just going to be playing the knockout, so they hadn't even started that yet. So they really have no idea of knowing whether or not. But I do understand that in the hey, if we make the final, then he stays with us until after that game.
Yeah, or until we're eliminated from the cup,
right?
From the Libertadores.
Sure.
He could have done that, and.
But Joel, it takes gumption and vision. In order for folks to come up with clauses and et cetera like that. So maybe that's something that we did not see the Chivas folks have, and there's some other things that Chivas is doing now that I'll get into here.
Yeah.
Momentarily.
Well.
But before we do that, Joel, I want you. I know you just wanna. Oh, good. Everything's low. Good job. Sorry. See, now I feel bad, Joel, because I always every time let's get. There we go. I know you want to do that. You want to get it off your chest, but we do have to introduce the Daniel Preciado, who joins us from Escondido, California. Daniel Preciado, how are you, sir?
I'm doing good, John. Hope everyone is well.
Glad that you were on, Daniel. I wish I had better news about your Santos. But
It's
I think
okay.
that this is what you're expecting, kind of up and down.
This was exactly what I was expecting. Yeah. A lot of changes, so there's going to be some growing pains. Typical Campeonitis.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be. Well, see, I've always thought of Campeonitis as like the team is like complacent and they don't care. But would you consider Campeonitis then, in addition to the complacency, the typical championship? If a team has just massive turnover, is that part of what happens?
Well, I think that's with this team. That's definitely a big part of it. There was quite a few changes. The entire back line is different, so lost the best forward that they had, so their top goal scorer. So yeah, they're gonna go through some struggles this season for sure. I'm not too concerned though. I do think they've made some decent signings, and I think they'll right the ship. So far, they got 3 out of 6 points, so it's not terrible.
Right. Well, Santos has the business model of we're gonna find these players. Hopefully they'll be good, and if we get 2 or 3 of them, that means that the team will be good. So we might get something out of it, and then when we do, especially if they have, we can strike with the irons hot, because Santos isn't owned, at least not anymore, by a mega corporation or so. I mean, it's folks that really have to be careful with how they manage their. Not that the other ones don't, but they're like extra careful, since. Anyway, so it just seems like the model over the past 6 or 7 years has worked pretty well for them, because they've been able to not only buy players low, sell players high, but they've been, in addition to that, have been able to win a couple of championships to boot.
And I think they kind of approach the season with it's kind of okay if we kind of stumble a bit. I think it's the right approach. They just came off a championship season. They clearly tried to cash in on that success, and they have to an extent. So, I'll trade an off season after a championship every single time.
Now, I do have some bad news for you, Dan. No, we did get word late just before we came on that you have also been sold. Santos has sold you, Dan. You are now going to have to root for Puebla this year. So you've been sold to the Camoteros, Dan. So I'm sorry.
How does that work?
You're going to have to start watching Puebla games. You're going to have to start eating torta de papa. You're going to have someone or you make chiles en nogado. I mean, there are a lot of steps that you have to take in order to become a Puebla fan. So I'm not sure what the fee was, but understand that you will get 10%. So there is there is a silver lining for this, and Puebla, I think, plays on Friday night, so you don't lose your whole weekend. So instead of having to wait till Sunday at 6, you can get it over with.
Yeah.
Friday. I guess for you it'd be Friday in the early evening, which is even better.
Friday,
so just when you get from work.
Yeah. I might actually get a chance to watch it.
Yeah. Joel, have you ever asked for a transfer, Joel, from Chivas?
Never have, John, but I'll ease the pain of my fellow Chilla hermanos. I didn't get to answer earlier.
Yes, please answer the earlier. What was the earlier question, Joel? So to refresh our listeners.
If I could tell anything to my fellow Chiva fans, they would talk him off of the ledge.
Yes.
And it was simple. They're gonna have to wait a year. So if they want to disconnect for a year, go right ahead, man. Take a sabbatical.
So
a year?
Chivas fans can go on loan for this year and go cheer for somebody else.
If they want, yeah, they want to be. If they want to take the Profe Cambia Rayas route. But by year 2019, Chivas will be renegotiating TV contracts in both U.S. and Mexico, and that also means not just TV but sponsorship. So there's going to be a nice chunk of change coming in.
Yeah, but shouldn't they? But shouldn't they amortize that over a period of time until the next one, or do you think they're going to spend it all at once?
I don't think they'll spend it all at once, but they'll have money to make some quality acquisitions. So I think the best thing they could do right now for this for the next two tourneys, or up until then, I guess, is just play their youth and see which ones come out.
Right.
Polish the gem, see which ones are good enough to be in the first division. That's the only thing. I mean, it's they weren't gonna have money in there. They were trying to like
2 games into the season, you are telling your Chivas fans, boys,
He's giving
girls,
up.
it's a throwaway year. This is 2 games into the season.
That's what Dan said too.
Yeah.
See, that's a problem I see. It seems like the days where teams got back-to-back championships
no
are
offense,
gone.
but you're like a rentagato, man. I mean, you go from
but,
gato to gato, Holmes.
No, I don't.
See, no, I'm not cool with that. But you have to come to terms with the reality that Chivas just doesn't have money, and you have to also factor in everything that happened with Angelica and when she stole funds and everything going on at OmniLife. So all of that affected the club, and it's like the owners just don't have the money to maintain a competitive squad.
But this 10-year comment isn't like new. It's 10 years, isn't it?
No, yeah, but it's not like it's planned for 10 years. It's not like they you know.
I mean, at least Santos has it planned.
In my defense,
yeah,
our comment shows up every 3 years, which is pretty respectable.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
I do think Santos has been better. They've been managed better. There's no doubt about that. Just the way they've gone about it.
What I'm saying is,
Elinge, wait, what's his name? I keep forgetting his name.
Oh, Iragorri.
Iragorri. Yes, I know. Ron is fond of him because of his hard hat, his cowboy hard hat.
His cowboy hard hat that he wears.
Yeah, he was angry. He beat him to the punch on that. But that guy's been, he's one of the architects of that team because they've done way better than when they were under Grupo Modelo.
I wouldn't go that far. I think that they're just fine under Grupo Modelo. I mean, I've said this many times on the show. Santos, at least in the, from mid '90s to now, have been, outside of Cruz Azul, maybe the most consistent team in Liga. Now they've had a couple of bad years and they did go down and flirt with the Descenso once, but for the most part, Santos is always in the Liguilla, and they're always. And if they have a good team, then the chances are pretty good they're going to make the final. And that's always been the case with them. But to your point, Joel, a team like that gets sold by Grupo Modelo, you think, this team is it's going to be hard for them. And the reality is they haven't really lost a beat.
Yeah, because some of the other teams, it took them a long time. So Necaxa is one of the good examples. Necaxa and San Luis, and it took Necaxa a long time to get their things together. And one of the guys behind that has been Memo Cantu, even though he said he's no longer, even though he says he's no longer involved. But he was one of the owners from when they won promotion up until he joined the FMF. And San Luis just recently with the purchase, what was it, Atletico Madrid coming in, but they're still struggling. They're still, I don't know how well they're doing. I don't really follow up on the second division.
Well, the Necaxa match that they just played with Pumas over the weekend was, the stadium. I know it was the opening day, but the stadium was, for, Seoul usually does real well in the middle part of the stadium, maybe, but you can tell that at least it kind of looks like Blue America when they play at the Azteca. I mean, it's pretty obvious that there aren't folks there. But with Necaxa playing, there was a lot of obvious. Necaxa has they played in Mexico City for 80 years, so they obviously have a huge fan base in Mexico. It's one of the teams that makes you wonder, like, why on earth did they ever leave? But so be it. I'm glad for Aguascalientes. And it gave it a really great atmosphere, and it turned out to be a really entertaining game, which Pumas won. Was it 5-3? Was that a 5-3 game? It was good, and I wish I could say that things are looking up for Pumas, but
I know what's going on, John. You've been scarred.
Well, it's not that I've been scarred. I just, they've played two I'm not going to call them marginal. Veracruz is not a good team.
But
And then
but
Necaxa is decent, but
but I'm saying at start of the season, how many times recently have we seen Pumas have this really good start and they're fighting liderato and then they just, somewhere around the halfway mark, they sort of like just come crashing down.
Yeah, and they lose like 6 games in a row, and then they yeah.
You're like the battered
well
wife now.
Unfortunately for Pumas and Chiquis, maybe
Age.
did they sell or is Marcelo Diaz no longer on with Pumas? Has he moved on the Chilean international?
I heard something. I didn't quite read into it though. I know.
Yeah, I didn't see anything official.
They got a Necaxa player.
Yeah, well, it seems like he is on his way because he hadn't played the first couple of games, and I mean, I just you hate to see a guy like that go because I mean he's a really good player, and he was playing. He looked like he started to come into his own a little bit, or at least gel with the team a little better in the last season. But I guess he's not. Things just didn't work out for him, and he's on his way out. And he was he played in the Copa America. I mean, he was a good player. This is not a guy that you want to get rid of willy nilly. So I'm guessing that there was some sort of friction between he and the club, or some sort of event happened where they decided that it's an untenable situation, and he's on his way out. Unfortunate.
Well, this guy Carlos Gonzalez seems to be stepping it up. So
yes, that is true, and and it's always good to see, for Pumas fans to see the youngsters come in and play well. They had a couple of guys make some very nice plays for Pumas. They have 6. They are actually the top of the table right now in Liga MX. Pumas after two matches with their +4 goal differential. They have
Chaflas next. They have Chaflas next.
And the Pumas, whether it's Chafla, I think the only team that Pumas ever does well against in Guadalajara is UDG for whatever reason. But everybody else, they just fall apart. And so I don't expect any. But it is Atlas, so we know. We saw Atlas in go almost 100% full Atlas against America, where they just were dominating the game, creating plenty of chances, be excellent defensively, just having a really good, it only matter of time before they score, and then they give up a terrible goal on a goalie mistake, and it was all over after that. They went the full Atlas after that, ended up losing 3-0. I mean, it was just, you could see it coming a mile away after they got that first goal. I was like, oh man, this is gonna. Atlas fans knew what was coming. I think it was. They had a chance, Joel. Talk about the Libertadores about 10 years ago. I think it was the quarterfinals against Boca, and they go to Argentina and they go 2-2 against Boca. So all they have to do is tie 0-0 when they come back. Boca had them down 2-0 after the first 10 minutes, and it was all over after that because it was Atlas.
Who was this when La Volpe was coach?
I don't remember if La Volpe was the coach. This was recently, so I don't think it was La Volpe. It was one. I mean, they have a different coach every year, so I couldn't tell you who the coach was. But I'm not necessarily sure if La Volpe was the. I mean,
they had like one good run. I think when he was a coach, they had one really good run in Libertadores. I remember that their games against River Plate.
No, that was a long time ago. This was much more recently. This was toward the end of the Liga MX participation in the Confed. But they did win their first knockouts, and like I said, they had Boca. Hugo Ayala scored the equalizer to go 2-2 at the Bombonera, and so they come back to the Jalisco with a chance to knock Boca out and advance to the semifinals. And they didn't even have to win to do it. I mean, they could have tied 0-0, 1-1, and they couldn't do it. They went the full Atlas after that about the first 20 minutes. So
Man, did they have an RG coach?
I'm sure they did. I'm sure they did.
Through the match.
Yeah, I can't remember who it was. We'll have to look it up here.
He wants to get in good with Macri when he returns to Buenos Aires.
Yeah, no kidding.
I got a question though, going back to what we were talking about earlier.
Yes.
Would you rather have a team where the comet comes like every 4 years or every 10 years, or would you rather have a team that's consistently in the top 3, consistently like in finals, and maybe gets every now and then a back-to-back championship?
Well, I mean, obviously, you want to see your team win as much as possible. I mean, I don't think. Well, yeah, I want to see my team win a championship every 10 to 15 years. You know.
Yeah, what kind of question is that, Chiquis?
Come on.
No.
God damn it.
No, that's what I'm saying. Chivas, you guys have said pretty much that Chivas and Santos are doing the opposite of what's the obvious answer.
No, look. Santos is different because they're just a group of investors, and they're managing the team right, because maintaining a squad, like if you win and they're not in a way, kind of. I mean, without insulting them.
So Chivas is even worse than an Equipo Chico.
Yeah, Chivas is up there, but
Chivas is run like an Equipo Chico, and that's just the reality. I'm serious.
Wait! I was praising Santos here. Let me.
Okay. Yes, please.
But also, this is a reality where a lot of fans, even Chivas fans, seem to not understand this. You know, they kind of see it as you're playing the EA FIFA game on PlayStation, and you could just add as many players. But it could become very expensive if you have a championship squad and you have national team players or players that their stock went up because, you know, they're campeón de goleo, like Di Giannini. I don't know if he was campeón de goleo, but, he was. Oh, so there you go. So then to maintain a squad like that, it costs a lot of money. And even teams like Euro teams that have squads like that, a lot of them are like in high debt. They end up getting one thing we've seen recently in Europe, all these owners from abroad, all these oil sheiks and stuff coming in and buying the clubs. You have Milan being bought by some Chinese investor. So it's very difficult to maintain a competitive squad, and I think Santos has been smart. They win their trophies, they sell the players, and then they seem to build a competitive team.
Start all over again
as quick as they can, and they're competing already. So I applaud them for what they're doing.
Well, to me, Santos is a good model for Mexican teams to follow, because it shows that you can make yourself money and win.
Oh yeah.
Chiapas for years, bought low, sold high, but they never did anything. The amount of the players that went through Chiapas.
Tecos too, John. You go add Tecos to that list.
Yeah, it was pretty impressive. I mean, Salvador Cabañas started in Chiapas. Jackson Martinez started in Chiapas.
Yeah.
There were a couple more, so it was definitely a good landing spot for guys. And then they ended up, being sold to.
I'd rather have I guess Mexico is not the desired end for these players, but it'd be nice to have a core group of players that lasts multiple years, like 8 years, and just win.
Well, I mean, that's what you see
like
with
Tigres. 5 champions, 4 champions. Yeah, so that's a good example. They're like, you see Chivas Hermanos snobbery against especially Tigres. Like,
but the big difference, Dan, is that Tigres can afford to pay that team. There's no salary cap.
Tigres and Monterrey, they're owned by Tigres. Tigres is owned by Cemex, and they're the number 2 in the world of like cement and construction. Like they're worldwide. Our friend, I was telling our friend El Numeritos Harrison, I was telling him about Cemex, and he sent me a picture. He was at a hardware store, and he's a cement bag in England, and I forgot it was called rugby or something, but you know how at the bottom it says who the owner is,
Right.
and it said CEMEX. You know how like when you buy the Dasani water, but if you look at the small letters, it
It
says
says
a
Coca-Cola.
product of yeah. And I was like, wow, you know. So CEMEX is number 2 in the world, man. And FEMSA is also one of the world's biggest bottling, distributors. So you got not just in Mexico,
FEMSA
but in the
distributes
whole world.
Coca-Cola. Yeah, they can distribute Coca-Cola in Mexico.
Yeah, so I mean, you're talking about 2 companies that aren't just big in Mexico, but in the whole world. Dude, to be number 2, I mean, if they wanted to really invest more, they would just completely dominate the league. It would just be Monterrey all the time. They'll become the Barca Real of Liga MX.
The only thing that dwarfs those 2 companies is the number of loyal followers we have here on the CantinaMX podcast.
Word.
Yeah.
So basically, the Equipo Grande thing is not just like Chivas has the most fans. I'll admit that, them in America. But the amount of funds, the amount of wins is something that Chivas Hermanos seem to ignore. And that's why Tigres fans are,
What's
they
changed?
say.
Well, Chicas has changed. Keep in mind the league structure changed.
That's why I don't think that even if Tigres invested a bunch of money, I don't think they'd necessarily win that much more. I think the structure with the Liguilla, it lends itself to oddball results. That's why you never see the El Líder ever win.
Well, I mean, Tigres. I mean, let's not pretend that this is something that's like a new trend for them. I mean, they've been doing this for forever. Probably. I mean, as long as I've been following, as long as CEMEX has been involved, for sure. I mean,
wasn't the university more involved with the team before?
They were. I mean, back in the
and then
where they didn't have that. But like I said, when CEMEX got involved, then yeah, it was. I mean,
yeah, but
if you look,
they created.
Good.
Although they created the Sinergia Deportiva, so they created like a subgroup,
right,
to manage the team.
And they were able. I mean, the Autónoma de Nuevo León is by far the largest university in northern Mexico. I mean, outside of the UDG and the UNAM, I think it's the 3rd largest university in Mexico, if I'm not mistaken. So they obviously have a huge fan base, and not only that, but they had like Pumas did forever. They had a very large base of players from which to cultivate the team. Now they are also, at least when I was a kid, I mean, they brought in Batocleti, they brought in Barbadillo, just a lot of really great players, and they were a very strong team for a very long time. But then they kind of slipped up after that. They even descended. They were in the 2nd division for a spell before they came back. But even after that, and they would still spend a ton of money on players, and it just never really worked out for them. And that really changed when Tuca showed up again in his 3rd go around with them in 2011. And since 2009, I think, whatever it is, since that has happened. I mean, Tigres has been, I don't think anybody will argue, they have been in those 10 years, the best team in Mexico, period. And, yes, it has been because they've, and they can afford to pay all those guys. I mean, the guys, they played a Copa MX game last week in San Luis, and their B team was disgusting. They had Edu Vargas and
Chilean international.
yeah, the starter, the starting striker on the Chilean national team, on the B team playing the Copa MX is so they have just a very deep bench, and it's obviously paid dividends for them. But I do think that Santos, as Dan has pointed out, for them, the smaller market teams that don't necessarily have that ginormous corporation to back them up and help them out, the Santos model is a very good model. They're obviously very serious about doing, but like they have 100% put the sport first, and by doing so, they are reaping the rewards, and they're getting much higher dividends by having the success on the field with with the players that they've chosen to make their investments with, and it's there's no
You
reason why
know,
a team like Puebla can't do that, or a team like Puebla may not be, but like Tijuana could certainly do that, or Atlas, maybe not the best example, but y'all understand, like the Pueblas of the world, Veracruz, if they had the right kind of ownership.
well, you know
I
who's
think the
sort
big
of doing
difference now,
that?
though, is sorry, just real
Go
quick,
ahead, Dan.
Santos. It's just the one big difference I think that I've seen. I think they're still being smart with their scouting. I still think they're bringing in quality players. Maybe not as high priced as before, but so they're having to be a little bit more, I don't know, smart with some of their money. But I think the big difference now is the cantera. It's starting to produce real players, and it's giving them a competitive edge over all the other teams, because when all things being equal, they don't have that much more money than a lot of the other teams, but they're using it more intelligently, and they're developing their own talent, which is also bringing in revenue, because they're selling a lot of their players. They're regularly selling players to Chivas and America.
Yeah, I mean, when we had Tom Marshall on the show, he I think he explicitly pointed out that Santos was really, a model franchise Liga MX when he went to visit him. He said he didn't, he's been at other clubs and it just didn't have the same, feel or vibe or seriousness about what their mission was like Santos did. So Santos is definitely in a good spot.
We need to bring Kim in to give us an earful about all things Santos. She's been managing their social media amongst other things, but she's been involved with them for a while now.
She
We
has.
should
get her
have her on the show.
That'd be a good connection for me to wiggle my way into into covering some of their games one day.
Get some of those passes. I say it's doing something similar as Pachuca, but Pachuca was getting those government kickbacks.
Well,
those are corrupt government kickbacks.
Yeah, there was something going on. Televisa almost exposed them, and they backed down. They bent the knee, and they said, "We're not going to challenge for the Iron Throne."
You're kidding.
Right. What?
I don't believe Joel that would happen.
Shocked to find that gambling is going on in here. Your winnings. Oh, thank you very much.
Yeah.
No, yeah, the whole thing was coming up, the whole television rights, and Televisa dug up the dirt on Pachuca.
Well, I don't necessarily they dug up the dirt. I think they just had the dirt. They just
they just dusted off.
Speaking of dirt, a good segue for us. Speaking of dirt, some of the dirt that we've heard this week. Then let's go ahead and catch everybody up with what's happened for those who are unaware. Since our last show, which we'd had on last Wednesday, it wasn't Thursday, it was Wednesday night. On Friday, I think it was, because I was down on the radio. Yeah, so my you can always tell something big has happened with like how people are reacting on Twitter, Facebook, whatever the case may be. In my case, it was Twitter. And sure enough, Profe Osorio said thanks, but no thanks to Mexico's offer, and declined the offer, and I guess their relationship ended 3 days earlier than was meant, for whatever reason. And so now Mexico's in the hunt for a new coach. There's a lot of candidates. Tuca has already said thanks, but no thanks. I'm sure they asked him at his press conference, his weekly press conference, and Tuca, being the Tuca guy that he is, like, well, you know what? They did ask me, and I decided, it's not for me. I have a contract here till 2020, so thanks, but no thanks. Tuca said no. He said there were 3 other people on the list. Is what Tuca said. Now, one of those peoples could or could not be, depending on how you think about the situation, is Matias Almeida, the former Chivas coach, the man who helped Chivas win how many trophies, Joel?
5.
5 trophies. 5 trophies in in the
One
period.
real one and four semi good ones.
So a 5-star trophy and a couple of 3-star trophies.
More like 2. I mean, can we really brag about beating Veracruz for like that Super Copa? And it's not even the same Veracruz that won that had got in there.
So okay, so a couple of 2-star. Anyway,
A win's a win. A win's a win, though. But
so the rumor, and this has been substantiated by several members of the press, is that and we'll go into the details as to why, is that the Chivas front office has asked the federation to not give this gentleman any kind of consideration, and not only that, they have gone on to threaten other teams, the other 17 teams, say, hey, we may not be so nice to you in business if y'all vote this guy in. This is according to rumors that apparently have been substantiated by other by reporters. So does Chivas have that kind of clout? Joel, Dan, Chiquis?
well, I don't think they'll say we're not going to be good with you in business, but it's more like you have like the gentleman's pact, or and el pacto de caballeros, and I think a lot of the
So now the pacto applies to coaches too, in addition to players.
Yeah, you
so
could.
Basically, it's like, I'm red-assed because of the way that this thing ended, and because of that, then you guys can't do anything with this guy. It's essentially what Chivas is saying.
We've seen it before. Depends how you leave, but we've seen it before where some coaches just won't find a job anymore, and you have someone like Romano going through all the teams, and then you have other coaches that did better, but they did something and then they can't. Like one of those is rumored is Matosas, saying that he wasn't allowed to come back. But I don't think it's sort of like through threats. It's more like, do this favor for me, and down the line I'm gonna return it.
Again.
It could be.
So do they have the clout? Do they have the clout?
I do think so, because I think Chivas has been playing ball. I mean, they played ball with what's his face, Guti. I forget his name.
Who, Pizarro?
Marquito?
No, man. Guy that was
Marco?
drinking a lot. He's at Necaxa right now.
Oh, Julit.
I think Guti. Yeah, Julit Peña, man. They paid top dollar for him, and then they sent him on loan to León, and then they sold him pretty cheap. And now he's at Necaxa.
Well, it's the see again. So do me a favor. I paid a fortune for this guy. It didn't work out for me. I had to sell him on the cheap. So please do me a favor. That's why I think that Chivas has zero clout in this situation.
No, but see, to León, he went to León on loan, and that's a Grupo Pachuca thing. So I mean, they didn't throw a stink about it. But
well, let me ask.
What do you mean by clout? What do you mean by clout?
Well, what I mean by clout is, do they have enough influence to influence the decision as to whether or not to even talk to this guy? Can they influence the decision makers? I don't think they can.
Well, I mean, you pull in.
They have in the past, though, have they?
No, but you asked for the favor, so you're like, hey, man, do me this solid.
Yeah, but
and
again,
that's how it works.
The favor is just see that's even more embarrassing, because the favor is
because they're still going to get raked over the coals.
Yeah.
No, but that's how it's operated in the past, though, where it's like they negotiate players. They negotiate a lot of things.
So here's my next question: Does Yon de Luisa, is he going to play those games? Because it seems to me that he would just rather not.
What? I think it's just part of it. It's part of the whole thing with FMF. I think it's always been.
Is he going to take a chance on not picking the right guy? Because Jorge Vergara said, "Hey, man, this guy made me look bad. So would you mind? Would you mind not hiring him on my behalf so that I can save a little face?" I mean, that's essentially what is the favor that Chivas is asking these guys. He embarrassed us. He made us look bad. Don't hire him because because we have egg on her. I mean, it is ridiculous.
But I mean, if they do put it on a boat, they don't have to say that. They just say we just prefer this other guy.
But is pettiness really just solely is it only like limited to Vergara, or is pettiness kind of generally felt or practiced amongst all the owners? I think all the owners can be pretty petty, so I think it's something that is like Spike could be like, it's like, yeah, all right, you want to screw him, sure. Well, like I don't see them being totally opposed to it.
Yeah, and also like, look, you have to see who Grupo Pachuca, for example. Almeida was never a candidate for Grupo Pachuca, so you could say they control two boats. In the grand scheme of things, if it does go to boat, so they just wouldn't go for him. And then you have Chivas. That's three.
They're championing Vicente del Bosque.
Yeah,
is who Pachuca. That is their value.
And then you have you have someone like Higuera who has he has some connection to Querétaro. I'm not sure if the president is still the same one, but the guy that was the president, and I forget his name, I had it written down. But that guy's his cousin. It's a big reason that he had negotiated a couple of players and brought in what's his face.
Yes, because Chivas has never negotiated with Querétaro before about anything.
No, for a long time, but he brought that one dude, man, who got him in pretty cheap.
Well, isn't he Yonda Luisa's cousin too?
Yeah, well, there you go. See, that's where I'm headed. So I mean, hey, you call your primo, you're like, hey, man.
Hey, but you don't have to get along with your cousins. There's no law that says you do.
I'm guessing it does in this instance, but I mean, it's not as ridiculous. Once we start putting the pieces down, I don't think it sounds as ridiculous as it is. You
can justify it. I mean, I'm not saying that you're personally justifying it, but to me, I mean, if that is truly a reason to not interview somebody or whatever the case may be, or just pass them over because of some ridiculous little snit, then it just to me, and I'm not just saying this happens in Mexico. I think it happens. I know it certainly happens in the NFL. It happens in other leagues, but it's just.
Well, yeah, it happened in Spain, right? With the coach, he negotiated, and then they fired him right before the World Cup.
2 days before the World Cup.
So I mean, you step on toes, you piss people off, and so I do think a lot of times it's like, okay, I'm gonna need a favor later on, so I'm gonna throw you the solid, and I don't think there's
the one that who it means to the most is Televisa, and didn't you tell me that Chivas is re-upping their TV contracts coming up?
Yes, sir, they are. Yes, sir, they are.
So who's doing who a favor here? See, tell me that's why I don't think that this ask is. I just don't think it's big enough for them to get.
I mean, there's also the point that the Federativos didn't like that this guy started campaigning before.
Heaven forbid that a guy makes him known that he wants a gig.
Hey, but you have to know where you're at, man, and how some of these people operate. So
I understand, and so the guys that were mad about that are the same ones that brought him in to the city when there was another coach coaching the team. The same guys are mad about that. Is that correct?
I don't think they're mad about that. I think that's more on the Luisa thing where he doesn't want, just keeping things on the down low instead of like making a fuss about things. Because that was the other thing with Hans. News popped up, and then there's nothing about it anymore. If you try to find anything, it went dark.
That's some Weasley corrupt.
Well, I'll tell you
for Chivas to do that.
Yeah.
Or for for Vergara to do that kind of thing.
And they have to remember, this was the same Vergara who 8 years ago, almost single-handedly caused Mexico to not qualify for the World Cup in South Africa with his with his pendejadas with Hugo Sanchez, and then with bringing Sven in, etc.
Well, what can Chivas have in the future for the FMF to want to have them, a favor and have them, owe them a solid
But
later on? Like,
it's not
why would
FMF.
Chivas?
It's a club precedent. It's club precedents. All the precedents. So you might sell trophies later on. If I'm gonna sell them, all right, I'll let you have them. How does a player like Buffo end up at Jaguares, man? That guy,
Okay, so how
he
does that
was top
affect
10
how does that
Mexican
affect?
players and he ends up in Jaguares. That wasn't no coincidence. Someone was like pissed and there's like, if he's gonna still be here, he's gonna be half of the, bottom of the table.
So how does that affect the FMF? How did they influence the FMF then?
The FMF
they're
is made
totally
up of the
separate.
club presidents. No, FMF is pretty much run by the Liga MX presidents.
It's not pretty much. It is
So
run by the Liga MX presidents.
So John De Luisa,
Yeah.
what is he? What is John De Luisa?
Well, what will happen, Chiquis, is that John De Luisa and Torrado and Teclos and
they're just puppets.
And no, they're not puppets. And Cantu will make the recommendation, and usually, 9 times out of 10, the owners will vote unanimously for whatever the decision that they make. Is usually what happens. So these guys decide, and then the owners approve or disapprove.
And speaking of unanimously, John De Luisa was voted in unanimously.
Right.
So I mean, I know he has the final say. I know he has the more power, but at the same time, he's not just gonna disregard, the whole group.
I don't think. I'm not saying he is. All I'm saying is, I don't think Chivas has the leverage, or the Chivas owners have the leverage to make that kind of decision for the FMF to give them that kind of direction. I just don't think they have it. I could be wrong, but I just don't think they do. And not only that, but on top of everything else, John Luisa would be dumb to cave to the threat, because they're threatening. They're not asking, they're threatening. They're threatening.
Well, I don't know if it's threat, but then that's also assuming that Mati is the best option.
I'm not saying he's the best option, but I'm saying he is.
No, he is. But I mean, I would be like, all right, we're discarding the absolutely best.
Well, what happens if they make this decision, right, and he goes to Costa Rica, which I think is a huge smokescreen, but let's pretend that it happens, right? and Costa Rica win the Gold Cup, which could happen. They certainly have the talent to do it. Well, why they've never, why they haven't even made a final is frankly beyond me. So that happens, then they have a great World Cup run, and they get to the World Cup and they make the second round, and they go, they do a game like he had against Red Bulls New York, where they just soak it up as much as possible. Maybe win 1-0 or take it 0-0 to penalties. They get the result there. While Mexico is in their second or third coach, maybe. And then they're in danger of not making it out of the hex. I mean, it could very well happen. So
I'm wanting Matias Almeida more and more every day to be the coach.
Well, the reality is, Joel, is that whether he gets it or not, he should at least get a chance to get it, and no one should take that away, especially not these buffoons that run Chivas. Exactly. That's right.
Well, Mati did throw. He did throw in. He threw a rock in his interview. He was saying, "Directivos." That he would work.
What he said.
Yeah. So man, I think he was throwing shade right there.
As the trash talking Guarita says all the time about Chivas.
Chivas, don't make me laugh.
So I mean, seriously. Okay, so now we're looking at the whole Mati thing. Tuca said no. Pachuca's pushing for Vicente del Bosque. I know that Guardado is pushing for his guy, and so I'm assuming that this will be Guardado through Atlas and then Azteca. are pushing for the coach at Betis. This Setien guy is on the list. And Joel, you mentioned Hans Westerhoff, and I believe that what was reported by a handful of guys, different sources, that Hans was going to be the coach for the upcoming friendlies in September.
Yes.
And but with the intention that he stays on in some capacity with the national, not necessarily the national team coach, but someone that has a position with the national team program. I was led to believe that he would take over the youth folk. That he would be in charge of the U teams. Is what I believe. If I didn't read it, I'm just maybe I'm just projecting that, but I do think that was the case. That would not be a bad hire, I think, because I guess what was reported, I think it was Rafa Ramos who wrote, said that Yon de Luisa is not just going to throw a bunch of dudes there and waste this opportunity. He wants to he wants to start his proyecto, and he wants to be serious about it, and by having Hans there, and then Hans assuming a role in the
yeah, especially with an 8-year project, it's very important to have a really good youth system running, because it's going to be some of those guys that are.
It's going to be those guys. It's going to be those guys. Yeah.
Yeah. We have. I think we're having live from the space station. El Raton Ayala keeps logging in and out. We should get his opinion before he gets booted again from his Chivas stream.
Raton Ayala joins us from New York. Rigo, how are you, sir? Oh, he is having problems connecting. So
he's on the Chivas TV package.
Is he on Chivas TV? He's gonna have to dial in again if the
streaming.
If that is the case.
Which they're not gonna push for it in 2019. This coming straight from the horse's mouth, because they asked him, "Are TV negotiations are up? Are you gonna go back to the streaming?" And he said no.
Well,
I mean, he said they're still gonna keep the TV, but they're still keeping their internet stuff. But I mean, they're going, they're gonna negotiate TV contracts.
So Rico, how big was the laptop that was running Chivas TV there in Guadalajara?
It had to be one of those old Hewlett Packard laptops,
like a Sperry Univac.
It has to be one of those you call it to a 1-800 number and build it for you laptop.
8 bits of computing power. Rigo Ayala joins us, sir. Chivas has not had the best start to the season. Joel said earlier that for Chivas fans, you guys are free to go on loan the rest for the rest of the year if you want. Go root for another team, because this year it's already para el olvido.
I mean, we're in peak baseball season right now, up in the Northeast, and training camp's about to start for football, so we're ready to jump off the boat and
at any time, huh?
Yeah, we're ready to focus on other things.
For a fan who picks Chivas to win the title every year, I'm sad for you that this is the reaction that you're having after the first 2 weeks of the season.
I think we lost the first game because of bad defensive coverage on dead balls. And then last week was just a shit show. I'm hoping that we have a better game against Toluca, although I don't see us winning against Toluca because they're such a good team. So I do see the team starting 0-3, but I feel the team has shown flashes of good things.
So it's time to just.
I think going down 3 weeks in a row in the way the short seasons are, I don't see us making the playoffs that way.
So is it time to put all the powder kegs on the Copa MX boat?
No, I think you keep playing until you're officially out.
So by week 6, jornada 6 then for
jornada 6.
For Chivas. Now, one last question, Rodrigo, since you just joined us before we kick it to our current topic. You heard about the whole Almeida thing and how they're threatening FMF if you hire this guy, then we know whatever the hell it is whatever it is that they're saying. Or I guess they're asking him a favor to not hire the guy, which again makes no sense. Does Chivas have the kind of leverage to make such a demand of the federation?
I think they do. I think they do because that's just the way the federation is built. And I don't know if Joel talked about it, but I know there's
Ad nauseum
about the TV contracts being renewed next season and all that stuff. And Chivas could be like, all right, well, we won't. If you guys don't do what we say, we won't join Televisa again.
You know, guys, we need to get the profile on here because we can't have a good Chiva contra Chiva when both of y'all say the same thing.
No, I just feel like Higuera and Vergara have a good, not that they have super pull, but they're in a good position to be making demands.
Now, the next question: should FMF
listen to them? No, ever,
okay.
never, absolutely not. Those guys will fucking destroy everything.
They're like the Parallax in Green Lantern.
Yeah. No, I it's making me hate them even more. The fact that they're doing this to me, they're particularly doing this to me.
You know, and then you're having to watch them play in those god awful uniforms on top of everything else.
Oh my god, it's terrible.
Those might be the ugliest. As a Chivas, if I were a Chivas fan, knowing how cool the uniform is, just as is. You know, I've always thought that the fallopian tubes was the worst Chivas uniform I ever saw. I think this one makes the fallopian tubes look as good as the uniforms from the 50s.
The Xerox ink printed one is terrible. And then I just dislike the home jersey. You know who does have a nice jersey? Sorry to jump around. Is the Pumas female jersey that they're coming out with.
I'll tell you what.
I
haven't seen it yet.
Timeline today.
Yeah, I'll have to take a look. The female or the Cruz Azul femenil logo is 100% grade A badass. I don't know if y'all have seen that. It is really cool.
That one.
It is. I mean, it looks like it came out right out of like the 1910s, 1920s, which is an era. I guess for me, it's really cool because that era of art, I really gravitate toward it. It looks. But I do like it a lot. But I will have to take a look at that. So
it's the same. It's just got the Pumas logo in pink.
Yeah, I mean, I would buy it. I'm not a Pumas fan. I would definitely rock it. It's a nice jersey. I'm a jersey aficionado, so.
Yeah, how many jerseys do you have there, Rodrigo, in your collection?
Probably around 30.
Really?
Yeah.
Now, do you have to keep, Dan, I know that our colleague Dan Preciado has a lot of Santos jerseys, but Dan has them for his different moods and states of a Santos fan, from like medium to, Dan, you don't have a double X in there, do you? Is extra large as far as you push it?
Extra large is, but the extra large, it was the old Atletico jerseys, which ran big already, and it's big, man.
Yeah.
It's big. I'm certain it would fit anyone on the panel.
Yeah. It may not fit me actually, but
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know about that. I was also a jersey aficionado.
I feel pretty good about that statement, man. Everyone.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Chivas Atletica jersey that from like '97 that still fits.
I use it to cover my son's bed.
Oh man, that might work for me because once they went to those skin tight shirts, those form fitting ones.
The Puma ones?
The Pumas.
But the ones that just wrap around you, man, and
like
that
Cameroon,
was it for
where
me.
you were, it was like a onesie, like a wrestling, like a really tight wrestling singlet.
They cut my man boobs really, really nicely. They always, and I never noticed it like in front of the mirror except in pictures.
Yeah, man, I couldn't wear those shirts no more. I was looking like a badly wrapped tamal, dude.
Yeah, the
masa popping up everywhere. So I was like,
thin cut is not very kind to the gorditos. I'm not gonna lie. Or slim cut or whatever it is. Yeah,
or even the skinny fat guys, which I'm like, that's me right now. I'm a skinny fat guy.
Well, that's I wish I could say the same. So out of your 30 shirts, Rigo, which is your most prized possession?
The one that it's the long sleeve Chivas jersey from the year they won the championship in 17. That's like my prize. That's like when I wear that one, they always have to win. When I wear that one,
Yeah.
And I also have a 1998 Mexico kit.
Oh, the Aztec calendar.
Yep.
That is a great shirt.
I got the one where they won with Tuca as coach.
The 97 one? 97. I think
was that the Mex Lube? The Mex Lube?
Yes, Mex
shirt?
Lube and Pemex. Right? It's Ava Sport.
Oh, Ava Sport. Okay, I have the
and it only has nine stars. Yeah.
You don't get they don't sell y'all additional stars so y'all can.
They did it. That was funny when they did do that one jersey where you could iron on the star
and it kept falling off.
I have that one.
No, I don't think it did. But
okay.
It was funny because the Chivas jersey came with the additional star, and people would iron it on. And that same season, America had their new jersey, and the America fans were trying to iron off like
the logo of
it was at Home Depot.
Oh, that's right.
They kept burning the jersey.
That's right.
Oh man,
that is right.
Good times.
The iron-on star. I love.
Did you iron the star on, Rigo?
No, when I bought it, it already came with the iron-on star and the patches, with the Copa and the league patches on.
So man, I'm jealous.
So out of your, do you have a Mexico jersey? Out of your 30 jerseys, how many of them are Chivas jerseys?
I would say about maybe 7.
That's not so bad. That's not so. Now, do you have one like
I've lost a few along the years. Given girlfriends have worn them and never gave them back and stuff like that.
Dang, that happens.
That's a lie. I probably have 10 or 11 actually, because I have the green one. I have the black and blue and pink one they came out with.
So I have a question for you, Rodrigo.
Yeah.
If right now, if one of your exes showed up in a Chivas jersey, knocks on the door, shows up in a Chivas jersey, and drops this on you.
Chingue, su madre el America.
Would you take her back right then and there?
Well, I'm in a relationship, so I can't take them back. I'm legally binded to say that, but that it would be a good starting point.
All right. Is out of the jerseys that you have, is there is there one jersey you have of a country or a team like no one's ever heard of?
No. But I have Brazil, Spain, Argentina. What other countries I have?
Do you go retro with your shirts, or do you just
England. I have an England one. I don't have any retro ones except for the '98 Mexico one. My dad. One day I was wearing a Barcelona jersey, and my dad called me Central American, and I was a little offended. He's like, only Central Americans wear.
Just for that jersey, or all the other ones?
What?
Just for that jersey, or for all the other ones like Spain, England, all that?
No. I was wearing a Barcelona jersey. He's like, only Central Americans wear European club jerseys. We only have one team in this house. They're all right.
I agree with him.
What?
No, it's true, but I like Jersey, so I was like, whatever.
Yeah.
funny because he never wears jerseys. So like, he's like, I only wear polos. I'm like, all right.
Hey, that's me.
But we saw you on the
Ronnie's
big
rubbed off.
screen at AT&T Stadium wearing a Barcelona jersey.
Oh yeah, that was
Man, I did a Dallas Wings basketball game over the weekend, and I guess it was on Tuesday night, and it was the same night that Barcelona was playing Roma, and it was like 5 minutes away. So and that game was at 9, so ours was first, and that one was at 9. So there was a guy showing up in a Barcelona poncho, the Mexican poncho that it was hilarious. It was very funny.
I was at Fenway this weekend, and I saw a guy in a Chivas jersey.
Yeah.
So
Did you say?
I yelled out like across the concourse, "Arriba las Chivas!" And he turned around and he saw me and he yelled back, "A huevo!" And I was like, "We're best friends now."
From one Chiva hermano to another.
Yeah.
From one Chiva hermano to another.
I was just more surprised that I saw one at Fenway. I wouldn't think I would be a Chivas fan there.
Well, we were saying earlier that Chivas has the most fans worldwide, or I was saying, and that's why a lot of Chivas fans think they're the biggest team in Mexico, as opposed to Tigres or whoever else.
No,
I do think you're more likely to find Chivas fans in different parts of the world than any other Mexican club. I think. I mean, America's up there with them.
Well, I think you guys are also more likely to be wearing a jersey.
Oh, what does that mean? That's true.
Yeah, like it doesn't matter where you are, like you'll wear the jersey.
Yeah, it's like a christening.
Like you could be at a Dodger game, you can be at a cricket match.
Yeah.
Is that where that meme comes from? Where it's like the girl gets all dressed up to go on a date, and it's like, and the guy goes with a soccer jersey on.
Or when
if it was a Chivas jersey, I would understand it.
Or when you get married, and La Novia has the Chivas dress.
I've seen quinceañera Chivas dress to not wedding.
Oh no, wedding.
That's incredible. But
I mean, some jerseys you can wear to dates. I mean,
oh no, I wore jerseys all the time. Doesn't matter, like but like not in any occasion, but on a date for sure. Especially, I mean, most dates are casual anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe on a first date, I think I dressed up for my current wife. I think most times.
But by date 2, the Santos jersey came out.
Oh yeah.
You got to do it the other way, or you got to like slowly increment to,
that was an extra large at that point too. So so I must have been quite.
She saw the full you.
the plumpiest version.
It's about your personality.
Yeah, I mean, well, it makes you try harder.
Yeah.
How does it go? Verbo mata cara. All right, maybe.
Oh snap!
Dan, was Santos part of your courtship with your wife? Did y'all go to a Santos game together?
No, man. I mean, nobody knows who the hell Santos is. It's rare. I mean, unless you're Mexican, you don't know who the hell Santos Laguna is. That's just a reality.
So you're saying that y'all did not see a Santos match?
No.
That's part of your courtship. So she didn't get to see you in the stands.
I believe I dragged her once to the New Zealand-Mexico friendly. I believe it was a rainy game in Pasadena one time.
Uh-huh.
I think I may have dragged her to that. I think it was.
Was that before the World Cup?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, wow.
Where Chicharito scored?
I was there.
If memory serves, it was rainy. It was rainy. I remember that.
But I thought, and I swear I've been told many times that it never rains in Southern California.
It rains so rarely that you could kind of just say that and just know that it's generally the case. It's quite true.
Which is why y'all freak the F out when it does rain.
That's why that game like that stands out in my memory. I'm like it rained, and like it I can't think of another match where it rained.
It was the rain of 2010.
That was that one time.
The one time it rained in 2010. That's very interesting. So Dan, out of these this paschal of coaches that FMF has apparently put together, this list of guys. Is there anybody on that list that makes you go,
Refresh my memory. So it's what, Tuca, Matias.
Yeah, well, apparently it was Tucas, Matías, El Piojo, Vicente del Bosque, and the guy who coaches Betis, not Septien, but Setien.
All right. I'm not sure on Del Bosque. I don't know what's the appeal with him.
He's won a World Cup with Spain.
He won a World Cup with Spain, but was it really him doing that, or was it just that he happened to be coaching like one of the greatest generations of midfielders?
Wait, you know what's on the list? Careca.
That's never. I mean, that's never going to happen, dude.
Seriously. Spain was just a pinch. Spain was only missing Messi as far as just to be as good as it was. I mean, maybe that's unfair to not give him credit, but I'm just not so sure that he's somehow going to make the team better.
Okay.
Not knowing a thing about Mexican soccer.
Right. So it would be one of the guys that has coached in Liga MX then for you that would.
Yeah, I'd prefer it. Just someone who's familiar, who doesn't have all these preconceived notions, and then goes in there and then is probably. Because they're kind of at the whim of their advisors, and a certain, that kind of limits your perspective. I think if they're familiar with the game, they already have an idea of the players. They have a good understanding of all of them, a good knowledge of the characteristics. And in order to pick and choose, like thinking of what's available, what's the best way to approach the national team and how to build a team, I think someone who's mostly familiar. I think someone like Matias. I'm being realistic of the names that are going to be available and people that would actually be willing to take the position. I think Matias is, in my opinion, the best option at this point because like más con menos. I think that no offense to the Chivistas, but I think it's his success in knockout tournaments. I think all those things are like really good checks. That he's already used to working with Mexicans, and this time he's not restrained. He could pick
and let's face
all
it,
of
that as we all know, it can be a handful for anybody.
So yeah, I think I would hope that personal politics don't remove him from consideration, because I think if it's not him, then chances are it's probably going to be Piojo, which, the way I feel about him is kind of similar to how I feel about Hugo Sanchez. Like, I thought both guys kind of lost the job unfairly on some level. Like, at least not really relating to what the senior team was doing on the field necessarily. It was for other stuff. And so it's kind of like maybe I kind of have some bit of I don't know what could have been with had he remained, but he doesn't really inspire much confidence. I don't see the team taking another step with him at the Realm, but I think he'd be a decent steward of the position.
No, a lot of the things that you say there make a lot of sense, and I think in a perfect world, in a frictionless, in a vacuum, if you lay it out the way you do, I think that it makes all the sense. Unfortunately, I think for with what Rigo and Joel have pointed out, that may not be the case. And I hope that isn't the case, because I do think that he at least merits consideration, and I think they're not even giving him that. I think is just a silly mistake, because of the fact that the vivid reality for Mexican soccer is that the pool of available and willing coaches is just not.
I'm sorry, John. I also would have included El Vasco, but now he's off he's
in
no longer
Egypt.
available. So, isn't that incredible? I was kind of shocked on that one. I didn't think he'd ever find a gig again.
Yeah, I mean, especially after he was, or at least his team was involved in that match.
Yeah, but he was absolved. He was absolved of any wrongdoing.
But still, I mean, that's.
Well, you know, but this interesting. So he was in where was it, South Korea, and they let him go during that whole case. And then he went to I think Saudi Arabia, but he won a cup over there with one of the teams. So I mean, I think that's how they knew about him. You know, he was in that region.
Yeah, I think he was in Saudi or was it Qatar that he was in the Qatar league.
Yeah, but his track record's always, as far as numbers go, it's always been good.
Yeah, he's done very well wherever he's gone.
Yeah, he took Atleti back to Champions League, for the first time in like 10 years.
This will be a good challenge for him because I mean he's done World Cups, but he's always come in as a bombero. He's never gotten it from.
And he has Mo Salah
from the beginning,
right there.
Yeah, at 24, so he's got him at his best for the next 4 years. If Mo Salah can keep it up,
you should just take Nacho over. Poor Nacho can't get a job. Just bring him in as assistant.
Man, you could set your watch to Nacho's haircut, man. That thing is it's Sargento. It's a thing of beauty.
Do you think he's gonna cross paths, Vasco, with La Volpe?
Well, La Volpe has taken a 6-month, I guess, intensive training or intensive consulting. I think at Pharaohs.
Yeah.
With the
Pyramids. No, Pyramids.
No, Pyramids. I'm sorry. Yeah, Pyramids. I'm not sure if they're a Cairo club or not. So so we have 2 ex-Mexico World Cup coaches in Egypt right now, and Bora, if I'm not mistaken, I think is still consulting with Qatar.
He's still taking. Yeah, they took him all back. I've forgotten about that.
Yeah, man, he was part of. Bora was part of the when they won the World Cup, the bid, like when they did a presentation.
Yeah,
his presentation, he was part of that. He was in the movie, and he came out and spoke. They were, I got to tell you, on presentation alone, I would have given it to Qatar of the United States every time. Seriously, the United States presentation was, hey, you know what? We have fans from every country here in the U.S., so y'all don't even worry about coming. We'll just have the World Cup with your teams. Don't worry about it. We're gonna still seriously. We're going to still fill the stadiums. We're going to still fill the stadiums. It's going to look great on TV. I mean that was the essence of the American bid.
Which I know was shocking to all the, to the feds because they make tons of money on ticket sales.
Right.
Damn.
And then Qatar comes out and not that their message was pretty generic and fully expected, but they did it in English, they did it in Spanish, they did it in French, they did it like different people came up and spoke and did different sections and different and it was good. It was very well put together. I mean, it was very strong. So the World Cup is going to be in Qatar in 2022.
Yeah, and it's going to be a winter wonderland
all freaking year for the World Cup. You know what's going to happen? People are gonna be upset about it, but 2 days in, they're going to forget all about it, and they're going to go, "Wow, this Winter World Cup thing is actually pretty cool." And it'll remind me of something that I've wanted to bring up with you guys since it happened. Both the players and coaches before the World Cup started were just adamantly opposed to the video review. Just didn't want to deal with it.
The bar.
And how many games did it take for a player to signal the ref, "Hey man, you need to go," or coach, "You need to go take a look at that"? How many times? How quick did that change?
I'll say from the first game, man.
Yeah, how quick did that change?
Yeah, no, I haven't seen too much protest, but it's going to be the last World Cup with 32 teams. before it goes to 40. What is it? 48.
48. Well, although I think that
Wow.
Infantino is hoping to make it 48 teams, but I don't think it's going to happen. It's that's a big ask for that tiny little country to play that many games.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and then by then you're already going to have bids for the World Cup after 2026.
Yeah, 2030, which in my opinion should go to Uruguay and Argentina. Period.
Yeah.
Or at least go to. Although I do think, and I think I've told you this, Joel, I think that you're going to start seeing bids to not put all the pressure on one country. World Cups are going to start being like the Eurocopa are going to start being. It's going to be like in 5 or 6 countries, which I don't think is necessary. Yeah. I'm not saying it's going to happen every time, but if it goes to to Africa, why does Morocco have to build 15 stadiums? Why can't they have it in Cairo, Casablanca, and
Yeah, and it's the whole stadium thing's been a disaster. If you look at what happened with South Africa and Brazil, some of these stadiums are abandoned.
Yeah, I mean, you're making these countries, someone is making a lot of money on these things, and it usually ends up being not the people that, that need it.
Yeah, that city needed a hospital or a school.
Exactly.
And they built a 50K stadium that ends up not being used.
Yeah, they park the buses in it now.
Yeah, it's a bus depot. They rent them out for cascaritas.
Okay, so Joel, you think that Matias will not get an interview?
Yeah, I think the gentleman's pact. It's been called, and he's been vetoed.
Okay. So who then, Joel, based on the list that you've heard, who's going to be the guy?
I was thinking Tuca, but if he gave the no, then at that point
Well, see, at that point, I mean, again, why on earth would you, quote unquote, accept this veto?
No, well, I mean,
why shoot yourself in the foot?
Because I'll say, despite the 5 cups, I'm still not big on Almeida to see him as the answer.
I'm not saying that he's the answer, but what I'm saying is,
yeah, but to me, he's lacking in a lot of departments.
With Tuca already saying no, I mean, would you at least interview the guy? Because they're not even asking him to interview the guy; they just don't want him to be considered. Period.
I don't need to interview him. I kind of know already what
you already know what
he brings to the table. Yeah, because he talked about his project, and that's the thing. It's not going to be his project. It's going to be John De Luisa's project. And if you saw his interview with Tebetica or whatever it's called, and he was saying, when people are interested in my project and they're serious about it, that's when I'll come. And it's not going to be, it's the Federation's project. It has to be, because you can't be dependent on someone that if they ended up leaving, they take whatever with them. It has to be an in-house project. And so I'm on board with that. So I think at that point it has to be and I do think Mati would be on board with whatever project. But so then I don't need to hear his project, what his project is. I just have to know what he brings to the table. And there was that 10-point thing that we talked about, the 10-point plan of some of the things you want in a coach.
Right.
And I think he's missing on some of them. And I think one thing they didn't like was that he was like, he took the player side.
Only Profia Cambarrayas checks all 10 boxes, man.
He also took the player side, which is not bad, but for the directivos, they're not going to want that.
Well, then why have a coach if you don't want him to take the player side? I mean, because the players play for the coach. They don't play for the directivos. They play for the coach.
Yeah, but we're looking at a Mexican team that's been having some issues with professionalism. So
Mati's not the guy. So you scratch him off the list. So according to reports, it's Setien, it's Del Bosque, now it's Piojo, and now you've eliminated 2 more. So you have eliminated Mati and Tuca. Tuca said thanks, but no thanks. So out of those 3 guys, then who's is it going to be Piojo?
I would go with Piojo.
So you want
I think
Piojo for 8 years?
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, if he does good the first 4, you're not going to keep him. I mean, because again, you have the project, but you have other people involved in this long-term project. So I don't think the coach, he's not going to be that. He's not the main part of the puzzle. As long as everything else is functioning, then you could just bring someone else to like kind of Croatia. They had like a good system in place, and even though they changed coach, the team still ended up doing really well.
Yeah, well, they had a once in a generation group of players too, so they had all.
Yeah, I know,
all
but they kept that group.
They did, and they played together for a very long time, which I think is what was so frustrating for Mexico fans. Not, I'm not taking anything away from Croatia because they played great and they were outstanding, but I think a lot of Mexico fans are wondering, Mexico had players that have been playing together for 8 years too. What the hell?
Así es. Well, John, I would
That's
throw my vote to Piojo.
So you are on Team Piojo, Joel.
Yeah, World Cup experience. He did good. I like how the team played under his watch. He's won with them already. He knows the players. His rapport, So yeah.
So everything that happened in the past is not, but here's the thing. What if TV Azteca says, "Hey, we can't have, he embarrassed one of our guys. We can't have Piojo on the team. So do me this favor."
I do think they smoked the peace pipe.
So
but
now
if that happens, but I understand if that happens. So then I don't know, man. At that point, I don't know who. I guess I would listen to the other guys. I mean, I would probably bring Peckerman. I would have someone like Peckerman over Mati.
Sure. No, but if Peckerman came, then Hans would go, "Hey, I thought that I was the guy that you brought in to do all the youth stuff, to bring in this other guy."
No, yeah, but they haven't. I mean, but Peckerman would be for the main national team, not for the youth.
Yeah, but again, would Peckerman want to walk into that situation knowing you have Hans there? There's the close. There's Torrado.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't have to take.
How old is Peckerman?
He's got to be at least in his late 60s, early 70s.
Seems pretty old, man.
68.
So he's gonna be nearly 80.
No, 68, nearly 70.
Yeah, so he'll be 76 by the time 2026 rolls around.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying it's not going to be impossible to be sharp, but I mean, how innovative are you going to be getting at that point? I don't like the idea of retreads, man. I know he's never been coached in Mexico, and I know he's a good coach, but I wouldn't want him to have him there for 8 years. That wouldn't be my choice.
No, now one thing that I will say about that Luis says, he's like, this isn't about 2026, it's about 2022. It's about 2026.
If it's not, then they're handling this totally wrong. They're pissing away a perfectly good opportunity to actually win the World Cup as co-hosts. They should absolutely be putting. I hope you're right, John.
Yeah, so that's why some of the guys that he brought in that are under him, I think, are under him to be the guy that quote unquote takes over, because he will not be part of the federation. He'll be the organizer, the head organizer for the Mexico side for the tournament.
So who would you want? Who's your pick?
Out of those guys, and I think again being realistic in the sense that they have to fish out of a pond that's very small, which is why I think that it's just ridiculous to throw away somebody just because of a personal snit. I mean, I do think that out of that group, I think Almeida would probably be the one that makes the most sense. I do, and especially considering what he said. If we're to believe Rafa Ramos, where he's like, yeah, Osorio was a great trainer, but he wasn't a good coach, and at least a good game day coach. And I think that if De Luisa made that specific comment, then to me that says that he wants a guy who's going to be like a coach. And the other guys can help with the other side, which is why they're there anyway. So I do think that he out of the group that are quote unquote that are candidates, I do think that he's the one that does fit. I don't necessarily think he's going to get it. I think it probably will go to Piojo as long as and only if Piojo does really well in the Liguilla, whether he makes at least probably make the final. Then I think it'll probably go to Piojo. But my choice would be Almeida. I think that he's the one that seems to, in my opinion, out of the group that they can realistically pick from, I think he's the one that picks the most important box. And I think that is going to be the deal breaker for everybody. So that is my my personal opinion on that.
I agree. I'm pro Almeida. Youth. Dan makes a good point, and then you made a good point about the Osorio screw ups and Almeida being, I guess, a good coach historically in the tournament. So I don't think he's going to be great. I don't think he's like the ideal choice, but Mexico can't attract an ideal choice, so they'll have to settle for Almeida.
And again, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, Almeida's has proven to be a very capable coach. He's
and I wouldn't call it settling either. I mean, let's just say like you're a bit of a fail and a gordo, and you probably don't have a really like a high paying job, so you don't have like a whole like any one thing that really like, oh man, this guy is like super good. So now he's gonna demand like a brilliant PhD supermodel who likes to give to charities and do kind of crazy like good things, like just perfect person ever. Like, dude, like you're not settling.
You're obviously describing all of our wives.
Exactly. We're all very lucky.
That's right.
But you do have those guys that are like all,
and those guys tend to be alone.
What are the unattractive like guys that you see on the beach with some supermodel? Because they have money.
They either have money or they have got game. That's usually one of the two. And more power to them. But like if you're like, and I'm just trying to paint the analogy. Like that. If you're Mexico, where you're not the most handsome, the richest, or whatever, then maybe you should not demand or expect and consider settling if you don't get like the supermodel. Like that's unrealistic anyway. So like don't look at it as settling. Find what's gonna fit what you have. Because I honestly don't think a great coach would make Mexico better. I just think they need an ideal coach that. Unfortunately, I think the best option is for someone to coach from within, not necessarily a Mexican. Maybe it could be a foreigner who's familiar with the league.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you're exactly right, Dan. As long as they have familiarity, as a player, as a coach, where they've spent a total of at least 10 years in the league, then maybe not 10, but and I guess like 5, I guess. Then sure, then you should have, you should certainly be considered for the position. Absolutely.
Now, have they discussed on whether or not they're going to be pulling the trigger and signing someone soon, or have they left that?
I think it's going to. They haven't said anything officially, but I'm pretty sure that historically they fill the position around Halloween, which is what I think is what's going to happen again.
I think I read that they didn't want to do like an homage coach for the upcoming friendlies. They wanted to get the real coach in by then.
No, they don't want to get the real coach.
I think as long as they get a coach before the Gold Cup, I think they should be good.
Yeah, when they brought Hugo in, they brought him in like either early November or very late October, and it was the same with Chepo. And then those were the last like post World Cup hirings they made, because after the World Cup in 2014,
I just think it might be premature, because I'm thinking like, I think some new candidates may be able to pop up after the season, depending on how things shake out. Because I think Caixinha could get himself in the running if he does something impressive with Cruz Azul. I think if Siboldi is able to do something good, I think his name could pop up. So who knows who else? I mean, if
David Patiño,
Rafa Puente Jr. leads his team to Liguilla or in a deep run, I mean, why not? I just think a number of names could pop up in a season. Because let's be real, I mean, our perspectives, especially in Liga MX, it's like we're able to look at, like, we remember like 2 feet behind us. It's as long as you're winning now, that's really all that matters.
Right.
And part of what makes Mexico like the ugly dude is the fans and the pressure that comes with that. So if I was a coach, I see a lot of people like not finding Mexico desirable.
I don't see an issue with the fans. I think, I mean, it depends on how you want to. It depends on your perspective. Either you're gonna like appreciate the fact of the sheer volume of fans there are, and with that, you're gonna have to accept that you're going to get the whole myriad of fans within that population.
But on top of all else, I think the most important part of this whole equation when it comes to the fans is, if you're lucky enough to take Mexico to the World Cup, you're going to be the home team at every game.
Yeah.
And there were easily 50,000 Mexicans in Moscow, easily.
I mean, that's pretty impressive.
If you don't do good in Azteca, you're gonna get booed and.
Yeah, but I mean, but look, you're talking about what, like maybe a half dozen games that are going to be played there. It's actually a small percentage of games that are actually going to be played there, and most of them are going to be games that they should be winning, no matter what the circumstance, no matter what the opponent. If it's the Hex, or if it's before that, they should win. They should. I don't think that should be too much of a factor. I do think the fans, they like, I do think they need to grow a little bit thicker skin and just accept the fact that some people are just awful, and they're gonna say awful things, they're gonna say nasty things, and then you're just gonna have to like either learn to block it out and no longer participate in those types of things. That way, out of sight, out of mind, or just accept them and just move on. It's that's one negative of just the amount of attention the team gets, because it's a double-edged sword.
Sure, but I mean, you have to expect that's going to come with the territory for any.
It just seems like I don't know. I haven't paid too much attention to other national teams, but I didn't see too much, at least on the periphery, of any particular national team getting bent out of shape for what the fans are doing or how the fans are reacting. And it just seems that the Mexican players are more susceptible to getting miffed at outside things, like the press or
I guarantee you, I promise you that happens with every national team.
I think Chicharito takes the cake, though. I believe that dude is uber sensitive.
Well, Ozil did quit the national team.
And I mean, and I
So that's true.
remember Wayne Rooney flipping off the camera in South Africa. So I mean,
To his detractors.
exactly. So it happens. It happens everywhere. It's not just. It's in fact, I remember once Sebastian Coe. He was I don't know if y'all are familiar with the name. He was a track and field. I think he ran the 1500, so he was what do they call that, middle distance runner. And I think it was at the LA Olympics, Dan. If as a matter of fact, he had done well in Moscow. He won some medals, and they said that he was watching whatever it was, and he ends up winning the gold medal in his race. And the whole next 50 yards of him after he won was just he put up the British get stuffed sign, and just was just rattling off this long tirade of basically telling people to go just f the f off for the most part. It was impressive. So it does happen, and I think it does get to folk, and just how you deal with it, I guess, is ultimately your responsibility, and and how much it lets do you get inspired by it, or do you get intimidated by it?
Well, let me ask you guys this: what's more important, the coach or the players? I think ultimately there's a lot of question marks as to what the team's going to look like. I don't know what I have legitimately no real idea what the team's supposed to look like moving forward.
Which is why I think it's very important that that the next coach is someone who has an idea of what what there is available to it. Because I mean, outside of Mexico, there are very few players that are below the age of 25 outside of Mexico. I mean, there's Chucky. There's that kid, the kid from Santos that went to Holland who hasn't really done all that much. What's that guy? That kid's name?
Uriel Antuna.
Antuna. There's the kid in Belgium, Govea. So that's it. So that's like three guys. That. Well, I guess there's a kid in Porto, but how old is he? Is he Malek? How old is he?
He's I believe he's 18, maybe 19. He's been, I guess, extended his loan, so he'll be either with the B team or possibly maybe, depending on how things can go, maybe he'll be able to sneak into the bench for the. Well, I'm hoping for more than sneak. I'm hoping that he gets some playing time with the first team, but yeah, he'll be part of the B team. Because before that he was part of the U19 team, which, if you're 18 and you're still playing with 18-year-olds, I don't know. So it's not super promising, but we'll see how that goes.
Yeah,
a lot of question marks.
Well, the point is they're just not that many. So it has that team is going to be built from players that are playing in Mexico right now, and you need a guy to help you find those guys and help and then build from there. So it makes me very and encouraged to see them if the rumors about Westerhoff are true, and then to have him stay on as in a capacity outside of being the national team coach is going to be a very good, because I think that he will be their chief scout basically, and go from team to team and watch the players, etc. And he will hopefully he will convince them that at this level the results are nice, but really we want to develop players, and that's what's important. And then if they can get a good crop of about a good base of 4 to 6 guys that are going to start in the 2026 World Cup, then he will have done his job. Isn't that amazing that they have to look at with thousands of kids, hundreds, and then to just get it down and then hope you hit right on the 4 or 5 that you end up with. out of all that. Stay in school, kids.
I did have a question for Joel. Is he still on?
He is
Or did
not
he
on
drop
anymore.
off?
He
Oh,
dropped
dang.
off.
I was just wondering if you thought Gael is actually, was that just like a flash in the pan moment, or maybe like start of something good? 'Cause he had a pretty good game, decent game. The goal was nice.
Was that against Morelia or whatever in Copa MX?
Yeah.
I did not get to watch the match.
I watched part of it, but the goal was nice.
Well, I mean, there are some young players in Mexico. It's just a matter of them getting playing time, and it's probably going to prove to be very difficult. Unless they're exceptionally talented with the amount of foreigners that are in and playing in Mexico.
And if anything, that's definitely probably the best thing about Copa MX is that it does give some of those guys opportunities, valuable, priceless minutes.
It does, and I almost wish that they would, if they're going to have Copa MX, to have it for the U teams too, so that they can keep let some guys punch above their weight a couple of times to see how they do, see if they're cut out for it. But we'll no, but I do like Copa MX for that reason, and also for the fact that I just think the games are really entertaining. It was a great game in Zacatepec. We have got. I think if we make a trip to any stadium in Mexico, I think we've got to go to Zacatepec. Go stay in Tequesquitengo, swim in the lake, maybe do a little skiing, and then go catch a game at is it the Coruco Diaz or the Selva Cañera? It'd be great. It'd be great. It'd be a lot of fun. Looks like a pretty cool little stadium too. Just outside of Mexico City. Chiquis, you want to go to Teques? Go catch a game in Zacatepec?
Yeah, sounds good.
I think it'd be a blast. Now, Dan, you would like Zacatepec because they're the same colors as Santos. They just have a franja.
Yeah, the Santos colors is about like the only green that you see there in Torreon.
I'll bet.
So,
have you had a chance to go to the new stadium? Well, I call it new.
No. It's still relatively new, but no, I have not. I've never gone to seen the game over there.
That is
something I need to remedy at some point, hopefully sooner than later.
Absolutely. Now, you did get to see them when they played Galaxy in the Conca Champions, though.
Yes.
Wasn't that when they had Beckham? Was Beckham still part of the team, or was it Giovanni?
Yeah, I believe they tied. I think it was 0-0. They tied. Then they ended up winning the series at home.
In Torreon.
Yeah.
Indeed. Well, gentlemen, probably a good time for us to wrap up the show, unless Chiquis, if there's anything else you wanted to.
No, I was just looking at the schedule from Rayados. 15th September against Chivas. That I'm thinking of. That might be a good trip for me to take. But we'll see.
Go to Monterrey.
Yeah, I got to do one this season.
I mean, I wish I had time. I won't have time until after April.
He'd rather watch Tigres play than Pumas.
Nah, I'm banning Tigres.
Oh, okay.
I could send you a screenshot of WhatsApp chat, one-sided WhatsApp chat with a certain member of the Tigres team.
Poor Chiquis. He's all. See now, Chiquis. Now you're asking us. You're asking us to veto Tigres Chiquis on your behalf. You want us to enact the Pacto de Cantineros.
Yep. There you go.
So none of us root for Tigres this year.
I'll do you a solid later.
Dude, That's a much better podcast name. We need to change it to that.
What was that?
That's like,
El Pacto de Cantineros?
Yeah, Pacto de Cantineros. I like that. That's funny.
yeah, that is pretty. It's a nice
We
ring to
gotta
it.
put that in the idea jar, man. I'm not sure if we want to rebrand again, but I like that though.
Well, we can make it our slogan.
Okay.
You said it's the CantinaMX podcast, el Pacto de Cantineros. That is pretty funny. We'll have to trademark that very quickly so that no one steals it. Dan, anything for you to and good to have you back on, Dan. I know that for the past couple of weeks you've been on for just a short period of time. So I'm glad to have you.
Yeah, things
join
things
us
a bit hectic. But yeah, I could officially introduce myself as a new additional coach on the panel. I'm
That's
officially
right.
a licensed U4 coach.
U4.
I mean, so I'm sorry, U6.
Oh, thank God! Let's say,
U6.
man, that's
going to be rough.
Too early. Yeah, no
I
kidding.
think U6 is going to be rough too. I'm like,
I mean, they're basically just chasing the ball, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what it's going to be like. Yeah, we'll see how it goes.
You're not setting up intricate give and goes, and
I'm going to try.
Teaching them how to do the rabones.
I'm going to try a lot of stuff. We'll see what their capacity is. I'm expecting very little at first, and then I'm hoping that toward the end of the season we get to see some semblance of what looks like maybe soccer.
Yeah. Well, you got to find your fastest, dribbliest guy, and tell him you don't go when they have the scrum. Say don't go in there, but we're going to get the ball out to you, and then let him just dribble and score.
And I'm going to tell him, like, make sure that the referee's not looking, and that's when you elbow the guy in the ribs.
Right in the ribs. Give him a little jab.
Yeah, just as you're running by.
That's right.
All right.
So sharpening the elbows at the U6 level.
Just nice, clean contact. That's all.
Yeah. Just a little love tap. Just let them know that we're thinking about them. Well, Dan, great to have you on again, and great to have Chiqui-san and Joel Aceves join us earlier, as did Rigo Ayala, who I know you guys have been having trouble. It's weird. Like we send the invites out, but they don't seem to be going through. So we'll have to get that worked out. But we're glad that we had everybody on that was able to join us tonight. Glad that you guys joined us tonight here on our YouTube channel, live every Thursday night, as we so often do. Podcast Thursdays, 9:30 Central, 7:30 Pacific, 10:30 on the East Coast. And of course, you can listen to this and all of our previous editions of the podcast downloadable on iTunes from the Podcast Center, as well as on Google Play. My name is John Jagu. This is the CantinaMX podcast. Glad to have you with us tonight. And we will talk to you guys again next week. Thank you very much for joining us. You guys enjoy the rest of your day.